Hey friends, this is Hopsoft again. I thought it would be fun to just kind of show you how I am using the format gem with the new TurboBoost monorepo, which I haven't open sourced yet, but that is coming very soon. So format is a way to format strings and do some cool stuff for CLIs and probably other use cases that I haven't even thought of yet. But let me just show you how this looks. So I'm pulling all of the TurboBoost libraries into a monorepo. And the reason for that is it's comprised of 7 libraries, some JavaScript, some Ruby, and orchestrating the work across all of them is difficult with them split across multiple repos. So I'm bringing them into this repo, but I'm building a CLI that actually helps me manage the development of these libraries together. So let me just show you what this looks like. So if I run rake help, I get this very nice looking message. And if I do something like, let me do a no glob here so you can kind of see this. No glob, rake help, and then I'm going to give it another task. So we'll ask for help on the tmux task or tasks. So now even though this is running with rake, I get this nice, pretty display of what I need to do here. It tells me what my dependencies are, the aliases, arguments, all that kind of stuff. And I'll show you how I actually built that here in just a second. So let me just run the tmux. So we're going to run tmux, and you can see I actually have bin stubs as well that make this a little bit easier and nicer to work with. So if I ever just run bin tmux, and I could put start, but that's also the default. So we're just going to run this. It'll spin up the whole process. So it's kind of like running the proc file, the local dev proc file when I spin this up, but I do it all with tmuxinator and tmux. So we'll just let all of this come up, but this spins up everything. So it's got watchers that are watching all of the libraries. It's building the libraries if they change, all that kind of stuff. So it makes working in the library quite nice. And then on the editor, let me just show you. So you can actually see there on tmux, I've got all my builds that are running here. This is across all the libraries. I've got assets that are building. So this is my style sheets and whatnot. There's Rails. I've got a console session in the server. You can see I'm running Falcon. I've got routes here, and I pipe this off to FZF so that I can search my routes across the app. I'm starting to do this with most of my projects. And then I've got a shell, just a tail or whatever I'm going to do there. But let me just show you what this looks like. So if I pop into lib, actually, let's do this. Let's go to main rake first. And you can actually see I've got kind of this little MVC framework that I'm starting to build up. It's part of this project right now. It may turn into its own thing, but I have this ability to render. And what I'm going to render is a template, a format template. This is going back to that gem that we started with. So if I pop into shell and templates, and then I open up my rake templates, I've got a description template. And this is what a format template actually looks like. And a format template is really just a string. I mean, you can run strings through format as well. But so I just load this file and then I pipe it through format to render. And so if we go back to how I'm doing that, you can see I'm sending in value, aliases, dependencies, arguments, and examples themselves are just other renders. So for example, if we just pop in and take a look at the example for an example, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Kind of interesting. I don't know if I would totally recommend everybody just run off and adopt this. Your mileage may vary, but it's certainly been a fun thing to kind of to build up and execute. And you can see I've got these special methods. I'm just piping. This is very similar to an Elixir pipeline. And this is very similar to a standard Ruby string format. And then what format does is it supports this pipeline that you can run methods on with normal string formatting in Ruby itself, which is why the gem is called format. So another neat thing that's actually kind of cool here is you can see I can actually do method calls inside of the string template itself, which is pretty interesting. And this is a custom method. We'll go take a look at that here in just a second. But essentially, I just render that template. That template is this. It may use other templates. Oh, that's the example template. Let's go back to the description template. There you go. So there's the description. You can see it takes the value, the dependencies, the aliases, arguments, and examples. So back on main rake, you can actually see those are the things that I'm passing in there. So the render method, I probably won't go too much into what the little mini MVC framework is here, but it's part of this shell. But that gives me my render method, and that's just piping it through format. The model is effectively considered these keyword arguments that get sent in. So it's MVC. This is effectively the model, like the params that you might use inside our locals. Think of it like locals if you're rendering an ERB template or something like that. But in the MVC framework, this is a model. And then this actually renders the template using format. In fact, I'll just give you a little sneak peek into that. You can see I've got my model, my view, and my controller. The model is really simple. You just pass in the attributes, which are those keyword arguments that you saw going in. And so I just kind of have this formal wrapper around it. Then I've got a controller, and it takes the view. So the controller actually kind of coordinates between the view and the model. And then it calls view render. And then on the view itself, you can actually see right down here is the call to format. And that's actually how you call it. So you just, format takes a string as the first argument, and then the model, or params in this case, as the second argument. But in this little micro framework, the params are the model. Effectively, they get converted into a model. So what that actually looks like is here, if we run bin help, that's just the bin stub that I've got set up, which is another little couple small files that I've got to facilitate using bin stubs to actually execute my rake tasks. And I'm using format to kind of get this pretty little output up here. Although I don't remember actually putting a background color on that. That's interesting. Probably have to go look at my styles there. So then if I run something like bin help, well, if we do this, I know I can, oops, there we go. That prints out this, gives me all these helpful examples, shows me my rake examples, but also shows me my bin stub examples as well. So I can actually effectively run all of the commands inside of my rake setup here. And I didn't want to deviate or use some third-party tool. I just wanted to use what was already there with Ruby to build the little CLI that helps me orchestrate all of the TurboBoost libraries. And so that's essentially how I am leveraging format in here. So like if we look back at something like, let's look at, so you can kind of see, we'll go and take a look at maybe install. So if I run bin, actually let's look at build here. I'm going to say, what does build actually do for us? Well, this allows me to build all of the Ruby gems and all of the JavaScript libraries across the entire suite of tools. So pretty cool. It's going to make building TurboBoost and maintaining it much simpler, and hopefully it actually solicits more contributions. Keep an eye peeled because that is going to open source very soon. Thanks for watching.